Erica Smith is an attorney with the Institute for Justice, also based here in Washington. She joined IJ in August of 2011 and litigates cutting-edge constitutional cases protecting free speech, school choice, property rights, and economic liberty in federal and state courts. A couple of weeks ago, we had our state forum, our state legislative policy forum in Georgia, and one of the best speakers I've ever seen on personalizing the kinds of cases that we face, John Kramer, who is the communications VP at IJ, came to speak and told legislators how to get away from those numbers and how to PhD, and I'm sure you'll be talking a bit about the PhD process. So let's welcome Erica, and thank you very much, Erica.
Thank you very much for having. Oh, that's okay. Thank you very much for having me here, and I'll tell Kramer you said hi. He's my friend. So, all right. So again, I'm Erica Smith, and I'm an attorney with the Institute for Justice, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about who IJ is and how you can use litigation and activism to fight for property rights. And I'm going to use some of our eminent domain work as an example. So we're a nonprofit law firm, and we're headquartered in Arlington, Virginia, which is right outside Washington, D.C. We also have offices across the country and a clinic at the University of Chicago Law School. And what we've been doing is fighting to protect individual rights from government abuse for over 20 years. Now there's 4 areas that we work in. Property rights, of course, which I'm going to talk about today, free speech, economic liberty, and educational choice. And we represent all of our clients for free. So we've litigated 157 cases, including 5 before the U.S. Supreme Court. And we have over a 70% success rate, which is really remarkable, especially for constitutional law. Now, we are only able to take a small fraction of the cases that are submitted to us every year. And that's for a few reasons. One, lawsuits are really resource intensive. Sometimes they can take years. But it's also because we want cases with the right set of facts. The right set of facts will allow us to win in the court of public opinion before we even get in front of a judge. Good facts make good law. So what kind of cases do we look for? Well, we look for David and Goliath type scenarios. The little guy going up against the big bad bureaucrat. So we're looking for sympathetic individuals going up against evil villains. And we use the same, okay, sorry about that. That's okay. Usually people complain I'm too loud. I hope, okay.
You need to be fairly close to that mic.
Okay. Can everybody hear me? Okay. And we use the same principles in our activism work. Sympathetic individuals going up against evil villains. And actually we're one of the only law firms that has an activism team, and our activism team allows us to bring change about without ever suing. And it also actually allows us to, when we lose in court, to turn our losses into a victory. And our eminent domain work is a great example of that. So remember I said we had 5 Supreme Court cases? Well, we only lost 1 of those. And yet that one probably had one of the biggest positive impact out of all of our cases. And that's the Kelo decision in 2005. So who's heard of the Kelo decision? Raise your hands. All right, great. So let me go to the next slide. And I am sure, oh, it got cut off on the bottom. Okay, so everybody here knows what eminent domain is, right? Okay, I'm going to give a quick, what's going on? Okay. Okay, I'm going to give a quick refresher on eminent domain. Now, the 5th Amendment in the Bill of Rights says that the government can take our property if it's for public use and if the government pays us just compensation. Now, why do we have that? Well, we have it for things like that are actually public use, like roads, public schools, railroads. And it's kind of a necessary evil, because let's say you want to build a highway. It's miles and miles and miles. In order to do that, you're going to have to buy up all the pieces of land that that highway is going to go through. Now that's incredibly complicated. Because what happens? You have one person who doesn't want to sell. You have one person who doesn't want to sell, and all of a sudden you can't build your road. So we have eminent domain to allow the government to take the property as kind of a necessary evil for the public good. But predictably, when you give power, what's going to happen? Predictably, the government has a history of abusing its eminent domain powers. And that is exactly what happened in New London, Connecticut. Okay, so that's the Fifth Amendment. You can go home and read that if you haven't already. Now, this is Suzette Kelo and her little pink house that was under threat of eminent domain. I'm going to take this off. Okay. Now, in New London, Connecticut, the city wanted to use eminent domain to take a bunch of homes and businesses, not for a school or a road, but for a private developer. And what was that private developer going to do with that property? Well, he wanted to build an urban village. Housing, office space, condos, a hotel. And the town loved this idea because that would mean more tax revenue for the town, more jobs. It would make them look good. And it also kind of makes them feel powerful. It makes them feel like architects. They're rebuilding their whole town. You never want to give these people too much power. So we challenged this in court, claiming that this wasn't a public use under the Fifth Amendment. This is going to a private developer. And we collected our sympathetic clients. Suzette Kelo, who had spent her life raising 4 boys in her little pink house. And all she wants to do is stay in her house. And now the government wants to take it away. We made her the spokesperson of our battle. That's the little pink house. And here are some of our other clients here. So we put a face on this battle. And we also had the evil villain, who was the private developer. Now, the Supreme Court decided Kelo in 2005, and it's one of the worst opinions in the court's history. The court sided with the town and said, yeah, sure, this is completely fine. This development project is for a public benefit. It may not be a public use, but it's for a public benefit. More taxes, more jobs. Go ahead, you can take the bulldozer and run down these people's homes and businesses. So did we just go home and cry? Well, maybe at first. But we weren't going to rest at that. That's us at the Supreme Court. We weren't going to just accept that loss. Now, there was outrage across the country because we had been really effective in capturing the public's imagination, capturing the media's attention by putting a human face on this story. And when the opinion came down, people were so angry that we were able to seize that outrage for our advantage. We used the media and grassroots lobbying to then go across the country and get 47 states to increase property protections to prevent this from happening. And they did that through constitutional amendments, statutory changes, or in the courts through judicial opinions. That's 47 states. That's a great example of how activism can get you results that a lawsuit can't. Since then, our activism team alone has saved over almost 17,000 homes and trained about 1,900 activists in person through community workshops. So let's zoom in on an example of how this actually goes down in a specific town. Just last month, we had a grassroots group in Harrison Township, New Jersey, that we helped save 23 properties. Again, it's a great example of sympathetic facts, and I have simple facts and sympathetic individuals. So let's go through the steps here. So we had a bunch of properties in New Jersey under threat. This is an accountant's office here. Another home. All these houses were under threat of eminent domain. Again, the town wanted to give these perfectly nice and charming houses to a private developer. There was a synagogue, too, that was under a threat. And it was a cute, charming, historic town. So we met with the 3 property owners up there, and we had them organize a citizens' action committee. And then we immediately announced the creation of that group to both the media and the town. We put out a press release, and then we built them a website and an email list and provided them with outreach materials. So the media could see that this was an organized event, and they were interested. So all the local papers covered this, and one of the local papers actually wrote an editorial in support of the group. We also helped one of the leader, the spokesperson of the group, write an op-ed. We helped her write this op-ed, and that was also published. And this was all synchronized and organized to get the maximum amount of attention. So less than 3 weeks after the organization was formed, the group was then able to capitalize this and go door to door with flyers and petitions to the community. As a result, when it came time for the meeting to happen to vote on whether this project was going to go forward, 150 people showed up. And that's because we were able to put a face on this struggle. We were able to put a face, simple facts, sympathetic individuals going up against a powerful evil villain, the town and the developer. So at this meeting, the town saw what was happening, and they voted unanimously to stop the eminent domain takings. Actually, afterwards, the mayor was overheard having a temper tantrum outside of City Hall after the vote. That's when you know that you did a good job. Suing the government, by the way, is very therapeutic. And we have repeated this was just last month, but we've repeated this across the country. And it's really textbook activism. And it really comes down to organization, simple facts, sympathetic individuals, helping them tell their story, and framing who the evil villain is. So in conclusion, eminent domain remains a serious problem. In fact, when the economy is as it gets better over the next couple of years, it's probably going to become a little bit worse because developers will be interested again in having big projects. But the success that we've had over the last 20 years has been greater than anyone expected. And as long as we have individuals willing to stand up and fight the government, we're going to keep winning. And you could use the same principles that we've used over the past 20 years to fight for your own battles. It's because they work. So thank you.